3 weeks before my wedding, my mother left a voicemail that broke the last soft part of me. Honey, we can't come. Sloane's yacht dinner is that same evening. Your father has important people to meet. You understand, right? I stood in my laundry room with a towel in my hand and listened to it twice because sometimes pain needs proof. My name is Maren Wycliffe. I was 34, a medical device engineer in North Carolina, and I had spent my whole life being the quiet daughter. My older sister Sloane got the applause, the family photos, the birthday brunches, the praise at every dinner table. I got the chores, the polite nods, and the empty seats. So when my parents chose champagne on a yacht over watching me walk down the aisle, I did not scream. I did not beg. I folded my grandmother's lace handkerchief into my bouquet, married the man they called a handyman with a laptop, and let live television do what my tears never could. I grew up in a town where people measured worth by last names, country club tables, and who parked what car in the church lot. My father, Harold Wycliffe, owned a respected insurance firm. My mother, Lenora, treated social events like a full-time career. Sloane married into a real estate family and walked through life like a parade had been ordered for her. Me, I liked science. I liked clean labs and quiet mornings. I built tiny heart monitoring sensors that could warn doctors before a patient crashed. When I won awards, my father said, "That's nice, but Sloane knows how to connect with people." When my first patent was approved, my mother changed the subject to Sloane's new lake house. There were 16 framed photos in their living room. 13 were of Sloane. 3 had me in them only because I was standing near someone more important. I met Callahan at a rural health technology conference in Austin. He wore jeans, work boots, and a jacket with a broken zipper. He said he ran a small medical software company and still fixed his own truck because paying a man $400 to tighten a bolt felt criminal. He listened when I spoke. Not the fake kind of listening people do while waiting for their turn. Real listening. He read my research papers before our third date and asked questions about them that made me feel seen in places my own family never looked. When I brought him home, my father gave him one scan and decided he was nobody. "So you do computer repair?" Dad asked. Callahan smiled and said, "Something like that." My mother pulled me into the kitchen and whispered, "Sweetheart, he seems kind, but he's no Aldridge man." Aldridge was Sloane's husband's family name. Money, boats, polished shoes, empty smiles. If you have ever watched your family insult the person who loves you because he does not look rich enough, then you already know the kind of fire that started in me that night. Callahan proposed beside the loading dock behind my lab, holding 2 paper cups of coffee and a ring with a pale green stone because I had once told him diamonds felt too loud. We chose Willow Bend Orchard for the wedding. It was not fancy. It had apple trees, a white barn, soft lights, and a little wooden bridge over a creek. It was the place my grandmother used to take me when I was a girl, before she passed, back when I still believed family meant safety. I mailed the invitations early. My parents did not answer. Sloane sent a thumbs-up emoji after 9 days. Then my mother's voicemail came. I called back and said, "Mom, this is my wedding." She sighed like I was making a problem out of nothing. "Maren, don't be dramatic. Sloane and Parker are hosting investors on the yacht. Your father can't miss that. Your orchard thing will be sweet. Send us a video." Then my father got on the line and said, "I'm not driving 2 hours to sit in grass and watch you marry a man who probably invoices by the hour." That was the sentence. That was the knife. The week before the wedding, Sloane FaceTimed me from a salon chair with foil in her hair and a diamond bracelet flashing every time she moved. "You're not mad, are you?" she said. "The yacht dinner is huge. Parker says there may be a senator there. Your little orchard wedding sounds cute, but this is business." I looked at my sister, at the woman who had been handed every room I had begged to enter, and I felt something colder than anger. I said, "Enjoy the boat?" She laughed. "Don't act wounded. You like being independent. It's kind of your brand." I ended the call. 10 minutes later, my mother texted, "You upset Sloane. Apologize." I stared at those words for a long time. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "We're sorry." Just a demand that I comfort the person who had mocked my wedding. That was when I stopped waiting for them to become people they had never chosen to be. The day before the wedding, I noticed the cameras, not one wedding videographer. 3 large cameras, a drone, boom microphones, people with headsets, and a woman carrying a clipboard, like she was running a live election broadcast. Callahan said softly, "There's something I should have explained sooner." But guests were arriving, flowers were being tied, and my heart was already full of too many things. His parents had flown in from Idaho and hugged me like I had always belonged to them. My best friend, Corinne, adjusted my veil and whispered, "Your family is going to regret this for the rest of their lives." I thought she meant emotionally. I did not know she meant publicly. If this part is hitting something in you, please like this story. Not for me, but for every quiet daughter, son, wife, or husband who has ever been treated like a backup plan at their own life event. At 5:15 that evening, my parents stepped onto Sloane's yacht in polished shoes and expensive smiles. My mother posted a photo of the lake with the caption, "A perfect family evening." At 5:20, I stood at the start of an orchard aisle with no father beside me. There were 2 empty chairs in the front row with cream ribbons tied around them. I looked at them once. Then I looked at Callahan, standing beneath the apple trees, eyes wet, hands steady, waiting for me like I was not a second choice, but the whole reason the world had gathered. I walked myself down the aisle. Every step hurt and healed me at the same time. Callahan took my hands and said in his vows, "I cannot promise you a life without storms, but I promise you will never again stand in one alone." I cried so hard Corinne had to hand me a tissue from her sleeve. The cameras caught everything, the empty chairs, my shaking breath, his hands around mine, my mother's ribboned seat with no mother in it. At 8 p.m., the network special aired. It was called The Private Founder Inside Rourke Medical Systems. That was when America learned what I had not fully understood myself. Callahan Rourke was not a handyman with a laptop. His small company was preparing for a public offering valued at $6.8 billion. He owned 41%. His software was being used in hospitals across the country to detect cardiac emergencies before they happened. And the quiet orchard wedding was the emotional final scene of the documentary. On Sloane's yacht, someone turned up the bar television. My father looked up and saw the man he had insulted standing beside me on national TV, while a narrator called him one of the most private medical technology founders in America. My mother saw me walking alone. Sloane saw the empty family chairs. Then the screen cut to my parents' yacht posts, already being shared online beside footage of my wedding. One caption went viral before dessert was served. Her parents skipped her wedding for a yacht, then found out the groom was worth billions. My phone started shaking during the first dance. Calls, texts. My mother wrote, "Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us?" My father wrote, "Call me immediately." Sloane wrote, "Maren, this is insane. Parker needs to meet Callahan." I read the messages while my new husband stood beside me under the lights. The same people who could not drive 2 hours for love now wanted immediate access because money had entered the room. I typed one reply to all 3 of them. "You chose your seat." Then I turned off my phone and danced until my feet hurt. That was my revenge. Not screaming, not begging, not explaining my pain to people who needed a stock valuation to notice it. Just letting them watch from a yacht while strangers online showed more loyalty to me than my own family ever had. 2 days later, my parents came to my door with flowers and faces full of panic. My mother cried before she reached the couch. My father cleared his throat and said, "We made a mistake." I asked, "Which mistake? Missing my wedding or not knowing Callahan was rich?" The room went silent. My mother whispered, "We didn't understand who he was." I said, "You understood I was your daughter. That should have been enough." My father tried to recover. He mentioned Parker's failing lake project. He used words like partnership and opportunity. I almost laughed. "Dad, you came here to network at your daughter's apology." His face went red, but he did not deny it. I opened the door and said, "Go home. Ask yourself one question. If Callahan still looked poor to you, would you be standing here?" Neither of them answered. That was the answer. After that, things changed, but not in the sweet movie way. My parents did not become gentle overnight. Sloane did not suddenly become my best friend. Parker's project collapsed within months, and Sloane called once asking if Callahan could quietly invest. I said no. My father lost clients because people had seen his character on a national screen, and character is hard to ensure once it catches fire. My mother took down the yacht photos, but screenshots live longer than regret. As for me, I kept working. I kept my name on my research. I started a scholarship for young women in engineering who did not have family clapping in the front row. Callahan still drove his old truck, though now reporters called it charming instead of cheap. Funny how money can change the same truck in other people's eyes. A year later, I went back to Willowbend Orchard alone. The chairs were gone. The apple trees were blooming. I stood where I had walked without my father and realized something that made me breathe easier. Empty chairs are not always proof that no one loves you. Sometimes they are proof that the wrong people finally made room for the right ones. So if you are waiting for people to choose you, and they keep choosing pride, money, favorites, and appearances instead, hear me clearly. Stop holding their seat. Walk anyway. Smile anyway. Build anyway. And when they come running after the world finally sees your worth, remember this: they did not miss the road. They chose another destination. Let them live there. Commentary and lessons. Now let's take a step back and talk about this story in a deeper way. This was not just a wedding story. This was not only about parents missing one special day. This story was really about years of emotional neglect, quiet pain, family favoritism, and the moment when one ignored daughter finally stopped begging to be chosen. At the start, Maren looks like a calm and successful woman. She is educated, hardworking, and kind, but inside she is carrying years of hurt. Her family never treated her like she truly mattered. Her sister Sloane was always the golden child. Sloane got the photos, the attention, the praise, and the public pride. Maren got silence. And that kind of silence can hurt more than open cruelty, because it makes a person question their own value. The wedding became the final test. Maren did not ask for something huge. She only wanted her parents to show up. But instead, they chose a yacht dinner because it looked more important to them. That decision tells us everything about their priorities. They were not too busy. They were not unable to come. They simply believed Maren's wedding was less valuable than a social event that could help their image and business connections. This is where the story becomes very powerful. Maren does not chase them. She does not fall apart in front of them. She does not beg her father to walk her down the aisle. She accepts the painful truth and keeps moving. That walk down the aisle alone is one of the strongest moments in the whole story. It looks sad at first, but it is actually a moment of freedom. She is not walking alone because nobody loves her. She is walking alone because she has stopped dragging people who never wanted to stand beside her. Then comes the big reveal. Callahan, the man her family dismissed as ordinary, is actually the founder of a billion-dollar medical company. But the most important thing is not the money. The money is only the mirror. It shows everyone what Maren's family really valued. When they thought Callahan was simple and average, they ignored him. When television called him powerful and rich, they suddenly wanted to talk. That is not love. That is calculation. And that is why the revenge in this story feels so satisfying. Maren does not need to destroy anyone. She does not need to scream, insult, or create drama. Her parents are exposed by their own choices. They skipped their daughter's wedding for a yacht party, and the whole world saw it. Their shame did not come from Maren's anger. It came from their own behavior being placed in the light. The parents' apology scene is also important. They come with flowers and tears, but their apology is not clean. Her father quickly turns the conversation toward business. That shows that he still does not fully understand the damage. He is not only sorry for hurting his daughter, he is also sorry he missed a chance to connect with a powerful man. Maren sees that clearly, and this is why she asks the most honest question in the story. If Callahan were not rich, would you be here right now? That question is the heart of the whole story, because real love shows up before success. Real family supports you before the world claps for you. Real parents do not need a TV documentary or a net worth number to respect their child's happiness. One life lesson from this story is that you should never measure your worth by the way broken people treat you. Sometimes the people who should love us best are the same people who make us feel small. That does not mean we are small. It means they are unable or unwilling to love without conditions. Another lesson is that boundaries are not revenge. When Maren refuses to give her parents easy access again, she is not being cruel. She is protecting the peace she worked so hard to build. Many people think forgiveness means letting everyone come back like nothing happened. But this story reminds us that forgiveness and access are not the same thing. You can release anger and still keep a safe distance. The story also teaches us that quiet strength is still strength. Maren's power is not loud. She does not need to prove herself with big speeches. Her strength is in walking forward, loving the right person, keeping her dignity, and refusing to be used after success arrives. So when we look at this story, we should not only focus on the billionaire twist. The real beauty is Maren's emotional journey. She starts as a daughter waiting for a seat at her family's table. She ends as a woman who no longer needs that seat. She builds her own life, her own marriage, her own peace, and her own definition of family. And maybe that is the strongest lesson of all. Sometimes the people who leave empty chairs in your life are not creating emptiness. They are making space. Space for better love. Space for self-respect. Space for the kind of peace that does not need approval. Maren did not lose her family on her wedding day. She finally found herself.